So on Pinstone Street in Sheffield, I've just done Heart of the City 1. I don't know if you watched that first, but I'm now going to do Heart of the City 2. But what I'm going to do is read some spiel first. And one of the biggest issues is that I think this whole area was going to be done between 2001 and 2013. And what they did is they actually shut the mall down, shut all the shops down with no investment money available. And there was an organisation called Sevenstone and Hammerson. They were supposed to be developing the moor area between 2001 and 2013, and that did so much damage to Sheffield. Eventually something happened with the first phase of Heart of the City 2, 2017 to 2020, and then we're now on the second phase, which I think will be from 2024 onwards, but this is costing £470 million. I think some of it will be private money and some of it will be public money, but what I'll do is I'll take you a walk round Heart of the City 2 now and show you the best I can on it. But it's a beautiful day, and I have actually documented some of this area in the past, but the weather was so bad. I'm not happy with the agenda, but I do still want to show things in the best light possible. So here we have the Peace Gardens from Heart of the City 1, and I'm actually stood on what would have been a grassed area in the past. All this area that's actually paved here was actually all grass, lovely benches around it, beautiful flower gardens. And along Pinstone Street we had ivy coloured bus shelters that look really nice and classy. So the original Peace Gardens would have come on this line here and right across to St Paul's Parade across there. So, I would say there's less than a third of the grass that we used to have. So when they talk about being a green city, they're not as green as they keep claiming they are. But here we've got the old town hall, a beautiful building. So we're on Pinstone Street now, and I've been coming out since July 2020, and I came out to join another group of people during lockdown. But I thought I need to start documenting what's going on in Sheffield. So they closed this road down to buses during lockdown, and what I can't understand is we should have a tram system running from one end of Sheffield to the other, or at least electric buses running from one end to the other. I'm on about through the centre, not running around the outside. But just here is Radisson Hotel. It used to be all shops along here, and what they've done is they've kept the outer skim of the building and not put a completely new building behind it. But here you can see the signs actually going up now. But what I can't understand is all this area now they're going to actually put cycle lanes in and pedestrianise it, so I doubt whether we're ever going to see cars around the front of here. So you're staying in an exclusive hotel, so where you're parking your car you're going to have to pay 30 quid a day to go and park it in a multi-storey around somewhere else, and you're then going to have to carry your bags across to it. Or are they actually going to have parking within the hotel or around the back? I don't know, but I doubt it. But let's go and have a journey around here. So I've started the video again. I've just had a good chat with somebody for about half an hour, and he's got the same concerns as me. He sees through the agenda driven stuff. So we're on Pinstone Street now, and as you can see now it's all blocked off. Now I know they're working on it at the moment, but this is how do small businesses stock up their shops? Your larger corporations may be able to stock up overnight, but your smaller businesses are just being driven out of Sheffield, if they can even get vans in. So we've now got the clean air zone in Sheffield. which is attacking your smaller businesses. So you can see the sort of work going off here now on Pinstone Street. Now that was the Nottingham Building Society there. Now we've got the yard store come here, but where are the Sheffield traditional brands? Is this a local British one? But they're not Sheffield brands like we used to have. Now this was Midland Bank, but we're starting to see now part of the city too, and I'll get into it more in a moment. I just want to show you the first bit. Same again, I'll put a link in the description and you can find out more about Art of the City too. Do a bit more exploring yourself. We're now approaching the top of the moor, and for probably 13 years nothing happened on it. All the shops got closed, and that started the first demise of Sheffield. But I think the demise of Sheffield's been staged. 1974, shutting down Fargate to traffic. 1987, shutting more down to traffic. 1994, we had a fantastic hole in the road, which should have been cleaned up, but they shut it down and drove a tram through it. High Street, which killed High Street. It's just one stage of stupidity after another. Now, we lost Debenhams in the second lockdown. Some of the moor has been improved, like you've got this building here, but I don't really see as much of an improvement. But just here, they knocked down this mid-city building, mid-city house. It's supposed to be a mid-city tower, and it might be 25 stories, but it might be like this for a number of years before they actually do any work on it. But as you can see now, it's sort of towering well above the original structure, just here. Now just here is Grosvenor House. It's now the headquarters of HSBC, but it's not even a quarter of the size of where I worked at the Pennine Centre. It's only the top floors are now the head office of HSBC, and then in the bottom it's shops. So now if you want to work in the office, you've got to book a place to work in the office. I think we had about 2,000 people working in Griffin House. But I know somebody who was going to be the project manager for moving people out of Griffin House, and they turned it down and took the retirement. They didn't want to get involved in it. But this is all the heart of the City 2 around this area here, or the retail sector they call it. We'll have a walk up here. So we're on to Cambridge Street, just here. Now when I went to Leeds last week, they got some fantastic arcades in. Now if you look at Cambridge Street going up there, somewhere through here used to be something called Cambridge Arcade, and there used to be shops you could go in and an arcade. And I think if we were forward thinking, we bring some of these arcades back into Sheffield to create a concept of indoor and outdoor shopping without going in large shopping centres. But we've got another store opened here. Same again, this is a Scandinavian type company. Where are the local Sheffield brands? Now Wicker Herbalist, which started in the Wicker of Sheffield, had 7 different shops in Sheffield at one bit. Where have all those brands gone? Local names. We're just being replaced by globalist type brands now. But one of the other things, they've spent so much money on a lot of this, I just wonder how the companies can actually make a profit. You've got to have such a high turnover to make a profit. But just down there we can see H&M. If you go to the left hand side of that building, down Furnivall Gate, you'll actually find where the old Redgate's store was. It's just like the next blue building you see, and it was a building they could have regenerated, but they knocked it down again. So when they talk about net zero and all of that, they actually spend a lot more money, and they can't even prove any of these net zero figures when you do a freedom of information. They tell you that that's not what they really meant. If you ask them how much energy went into building a building versus how much they say, well, that's not what we're really about with a net zero building. So we're on Charles Street here. But look, so you put this beautiful paving down, and then look what you do. You just dig it up and leave it like a mess like that. All that money. So this is the old Emery's pub. It used to go in on a Friday and Saturday night. It's a trendy bar in Sheffield, first place that you had a vase for drinking out of. Now, this is the outer frontage, but like with the hotel on Pinstone Street, they've kept the outside of the building and completely renovated it on the inside. I'll have a quick walk down here before I go back up Cambridge Street. So what we've got here is Elshaw House, first zero carbon building in Sheffield, which is offices and whatever. Now, it's laughable because I did the freedom of information and said, well, how much energy did you use in the production of the building, because they were pouring concrete into the foundations like anything, and how much will you save after that per year? And they can't give me those figures because that's not what it means. Well, it is what it means, but you've been called out. So this is the back end of the Coles building, or John Lewis. Now this was built in 1964. It had got the car parking at the back. Now this is a listed building. Now we knocked an absolute beautiful building down on Fargate and High Street that was the original Coles Corner, and we're listing this. You just can't make it up. It's just so the wapentake was round here, and I get disorientated. I think it was somewhere around here, but it's on this area because I was thinking the wapentake was in here, but we're on Cross Burgess Street now. But when I went to Leeds and Manchester, we didn't have graffiti all over the place like we do in Sheffield. So we're coming back out onto Pinstone Street, but I want to show you this beautiful building here. Now we've got the Salvation Army building. Now this would make a fantastic venue for concerts and various other things. The person who's had hold of this, I think they've had hold of it for about 7 years, have done nothing on it, and they're just letting it rot. And my big concern is they'll end up demolishing it if we're not careful, because it's absolutely fantastic looking building. It wants some work on it, But like I said, they could have a stage in here, or they could, I think somebody else said, turn it into a pub or whatever. But it'd make a fantastic venue of some kind. You can actually see pictures of it actually inside. The seats have been taken out, but you get the concept of it. But down here we had the Yorkshireman pub, and I think it's this area here. By the side of here that's been knocked down, and it's just a building plot now. So they knock a building down and it got moved to Arundel Gate, the Yorkshireman, and the old Mulberry Tavern, and that's now closed as well. But that's more Sheffield history gone. And was it really that bad that it had to be knocked down? Or why couldn't it have been replaced like for like? Keep some of our tradition in the city centre. So that's taking you into Barker's Pool up there. We'll have a bit more of a walk round here. But it's supposed to be the biggest food hall in Europe opening. And then they're talking about Coles becoming a food place. Now the Light Cinema, there's loads of food places in there, there's only one left open because they're not sustainable. So we're having, where you can see the Rusty Bucket, I think that's part of the biggest food hall. It's quite large inside. Not the sort of place I'm going because I can't stand the one in Meadowhall. Because that one's actually, it used to be, you could actually go in little places in Meadowhall, but last time I went in, it was absolutely awful. I won't go in there. But they have updated these buildings really well, but it's not going to update the rental on them. But when, I think it's Lear's Yard or whatever it is, this biggest food place opens, I'll be in there to video it, but I thought I'd give you the latest on this area, because the last time I did it, it just rained all the time. So this was the old Coles toy shop. And the reason they call HSBC's headquarters Grosvenor House, because the Grosvenor House Hotel was there. All the big stars used to stay there if they were singing or the snooker was on. But there's also the ITV studio there and a couple of cinemas, smaller cinemas there. Not a building that we miss, but what's that going to look like in 20 years' time? Now there was a pub up here. I don't know if it was a Sportsman or what, but everything's been hidden. So we've got Lear's Yard in here and whatever. But there used to be, where you can see Grosvenor Hotel down there, there was a picture house that held about 2,500. Beautiful architecture, knocked down in 1960. Most of the damage wasn't done during the Second World War, even though there was some horrendous damage in Sheffield. Most of the damage in Sheffield was done 1950s and 60s. But we're now coming into Barker's Pool, and it was said that part of the City One included Barker's Pool. I'm not really sure what they did. I know they did the town hall up. Sorry, not the town hall, the City Hall up, because they shut the ballroom down for the tea dancers in early 2000, so they may have considered that part of Heart of City One. But here we have a fountain. Now we had a fantastic one further down here, Goodwin Fountains, top end of Fargate, and I don't think this really replaces the Goodwin Fountains, does it, if everybody remembers it. It was originally in the middle of the roundabout, because that was a roundabout there with traffic. So we've now got the Fountain Precinct. We had the Grand Hotel here. Now the back end of the Grand Hotel wasn't very nice, but the front end, which is on Leopold Street, was extremely nice, and they could have kept that front end, but they didn't. They smashed it down. But to me, I'm not sure why you'd get rid of a hotel like the Grand in Sheffield. Why didn't they modernise it? Because we were short of hotels in the 60s. So just down here you can see the ballroom entrance for the City Hall. And the biggest shame is there used to be 2 dancers Saturday, Tuesday and Thursday, and there's now only a 2 dance on a Thursday when the working people can no longer get. So we're on Barn Green just here. And this used to be a much nicer park, but it did attract problems as well. But most of it's been concreted over. It had more sort of formal gardens. So just up here where you can see the Fountain Precinct was what we knew as Josephine's nightclub. Now it's Manhattan Bar in there. I don't know if Manhattan Bar is the same place as where Josie's nightclub was. The Manhattan Bar's open during the daytime, whereas Josie's was only ever open in the evening. So just here where you can see the new outer covering on the building, and there where they've got an orange covering on it. This was a Gaumont cinema. It was a massive playhouse at one bit, held about 2,500, and they broke it down into 3 smaller cinemas in the 60s. Then they eventually shut it down, built a red Meccano building there. But to me that looks really tacky, and I'll upset the people who like that, but tough. I don't really think it's in keeping with Barker's Pool, but a lot of Barker's Pool's been smashed down, because where you can see that office block there, that was the cinema house. That was a lovely white building. Then the Grand Hotel there. Now where you can see John Lewis was actually a playhouse. Can't quite remember the name of that. It's got a London sounding name, like one of the London playhouses there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to nip round the back of here onto Division Street, because this is where the rest of the heart of the City 2 is, but the top end of Cambridge Street down here. Takes you up to West Street up there, but I thought I'd just show you. I want to say it can't showcase Sheffield better than this, but like I said, I love Sheffield. I just don't love the agenda going off in Sheffield. To me, we should have modernised our industry. kept our brands like cutlery and silverware. But if I hadn't been coming in Sheffield for the last 5 years, I'd probably not know where I was in Sheffield anymore. Because certain areas of it are totally disorientating. So do you think the £530 million being well spent? But I don't know what the breakdown is on whether that was private money or public money or whatever. We've got a beautiful old church here, St Matthew's on Carver Street. Now we've got, this is the Elshaw House, isn't it? Zero carbon building. Like I said, when you walk around some of these areas, I ain't got a clue where I am anymore. Some of them are reopening, but they're very sort of removing cars from them. I mean, that's one way down there, as you can see. I call that the rust bucket. Somewhere in here is going to be the biggest food hall in Europe, which I will document but I won't be using. Now we're coming up to Pound's Pocket Park, named after the fire officer. Now I've got a full video on it, so you can actually see the full video on that. But across there is Kangaroo Works, which I think would have been a big cutlery company in the past. Now it has some beautiful stone doorways on it, and they've been removed and taken to Kelham Island, and I've found out since you can actually view them for free, but you're not going to be able to view them every day like you could when they were in the building. So Kelham Island is open every day, but Saturday, when you think it would be open, but it is free, I'm told, and they just ask for a donation to go around it. So they've got the back end of Grosvenor House. Now the entranceway into HSBC is a lot nicer than it was in Griffin House. It was at Christmas anyway, with a Christmas tree. But I can imagine once you get inside it, and I'll show it you in a minute, you'll be like in a coach, because it's all wide desks where you book your desk before you come in. Back end of Emery's there. But I mean, I think the Pound's Pocket Park's been put in to entice people to live in the city, but it's going to be more and more constrained because this will all be built on this area around here. Like I said, I've done a separate video for that. So I want to show you where the tallest building is going to be in Sheffield, or allegedly. We never know. So we spent a lot of money on a central fire station here, which lasted about 20 or 30 years, and then it got knocked down. I mean, this is what happens in Sheffield. They spend so much money, waste the money and knock it down in 20 or 30 years. So this is Kangaroo Works, and it looks stone clad, but it isn't. It'll be just insulation with some grey painted on it, and then they stick like an outer brick on it. So that's Kangaroo Works. All our industrial land just built on. Just here is going to be Code Sheffield. It was supposed to be the tallest building in Sheffield. Then they dropped it down to 25 stories, and now I think they're going for between 32 and 38 stories, and they tell us it's going to start again this year. Now, somebody came along and they turned the earth over and it stopped again, but there's going to be another planning process decision before they can start on this. But you know, to have a flat in there, just a one bedroom rabbit hutch, is going to cost you £1,000 a month. So you've got nothing at the end of it, you own nothing, and that's what the case is. The World Economic Forum is you'll own nothing and be happy, while the billionaires own everything and charge you through the nose for it. So at some stage this will be between 32 and 38 stories high. And one of the big concerns, and this is what Dora Vernon goes on about all the time, she's looking at what's happening in China, and she says Sheffield's modelling on China. And what they're doing is, it's called social living. So you have a room, but you have your joint kitchen and bathroom, etc. So it's called social living. So a lot of this isn't even private flats, but it's more just for students. So it's all right, I'm in the tallest building, but you and me can't sit at the top having a dinner, you know, looking at the splendid view. So to me, what is the benefit of the tallest building in Sheffield? But I think this whole area, you can just see it. I think this was the old telephone house here. Yeah, this is becoming more and more concrete. I got distracted by somebody shouting to me there, so I give them a thumbs up. But like I said, this is the Pounds Pocket Park just here. You can see a separate video on it, but as you can see over there where there's still some of the car park, I think there'll be more buildings, so this area will become more and more compact with buildings. So that's a quick view of Heart of the City 2, and I'm going to get down now to Ecclesall Road and out towards the River Porter at Endcliffe Park.